Hi there, my name's Kate Dickie. I am delighted to be reading this short story by Karen Campbell tonight. I'm a big fan of Karen anyway. I first read her book, This Is Where I Am, which came out in 2013, and I love that book so much. I've given it to so many people for gifts. So when this opportunity came up to read Karen's story, I was really, really delighted. And I'm also, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm also kind of a local girl as well. I moved to Newton Stewart, one of the local towns, when I was 13 and stayed there through my teens. And then I've got family down there and stuff. So I've got big connections to Wigtown and a lot of love for it. So it's a real honour to be part of the book festival this year. So the short story I'm going to read for you today is called The Ghosts of Wigtown by Karen Campbell. It's always dark down here. Dark and dappled where the road slopes deep and a secret opens. You wouldn't know it if you didn't know it was here. But we do. All the women of Wigtown know this place. It's quiet under the trees where the path turns. Leaves ripple like little waves, like the waves that used to lap here when the Irish Sea met the mudflats, before rivers were tamed and shifted and our harbour became a place of land. They use it now to birth those ironwork creatures, those things they call carambulators. Oh, come on, please. We're not all Luddites. Must we speak as one? Oh, here she comes. Dr. Walker with her wee round specs and her button nose, ice sniffing like she stepped in Keith. Dr. Broadfoot Walker, don't you mean? Aye, away and bile your double-barrel bahookie. A woman doctor? Nae a howdy wife, mind. An actual lassie that's been to the actual university and thinks she can give herself fancy names. Well, I wouldn't be letting her near my bits. Mistress McNearney, you're well aware that I'm a woman of science and that these objects are called automobiles or cars, just cars. It really is most tiresome to be always working to the lowest common denominator. Can we at least agree on one thing? Can I appeal to those of us who have been here for quite some time? None of us are set in aspic, are we? Surely we're able to observe the changes we all perceive, observe and acknowledge them, respond to them. I mean, even poor Beatha here has been able to evolve some deeper understanding of, you leave poor Beatha out of it, Mary Walker. Honestly, you never done picking on the poor old soul. Soul. Beatha tries the word out. She's never sure what this language means, for it bears little resemblance to her own, though she hears echoes of it from time to time. But soul is a word you can feel in your mouth. It is round and yearning, and they all know its weight. They know every nuance and glitter of it, every whisper and moan. Anger is an energy. The faint mist moves. The grass is soft underfoot. Beatha has never worn coverings on her feet. Her feet never touch the grass, but there is a memory of softness which she cherishes. It's the same softness she remembers from when they lay at night, huddled in their skins around the embers of a fire. There is softness and hardness, the hardness of her man's spine, the hardness of these wooden slats over which the mist is seeping. It's not yet dawn. We've been milling here since the moon rose. Unless we act as one, we can't get a shift on. Most prefer to stay within the churchyard, where the parameters are safe and known. But some of us like to test our boundaries. We are forever testing our boundaries, pushing, praying that one day this thin place we inhabit will thin a little more. will rupture and give, will release. The churchyard is an awfully sad place, you know. Out here might be dangerous, but it's also thrilling. The churchyard reeks of piety. There is a great deal of emptiness, of course, and some lovely walks. Faint music from within the kirk walls on Sundays that would break your heart if you had a heart to break. So don't mourn us for the churchyard, no. It's peaceable enough. But within the pockets of resistance, among those of us spirits who have not yet gone, well, let's just say there can be discomfort. The Covenanters are the worst, aye, quivering with righteous indignation. Do you know they don't even like their own monument? Too white and glowing, apparently. Too Catholic. And they wonder why they're still here. Not the two Margarets, mind, oh no. Those martyred Covenanters were with us for but a moment. Goodly women both. They made their peace long before the waters closed over their dear drowned heads. But it's in their honour that we come here, down through the trees, then onto the boardwalk. Crannog. It's all right, Beatha. You don't have to defend yourself to Dr. Snob. Bannock. She thinks she's hungry. We don't feel hunger, my love. Mind? It's just you remembering that awful gnawing isn't real. I think she's saying Crannog. Is that right, Beatha? What's Crannog when it's at home? The wooden slats creak. There is no feet to walk in them. Water glistens through the gaps, and Beatha can almost see her face there. Her Crannog was such a safe place. To think they made their own neat islands with wooden stakes and woven rush, hands that were once purposeful and loved too much, and lost. She almost sees another face, but she won't. A breeze sows branches, the mist progresses, the light turns dark to silver as the sky yawns wide and we move and move to this. The whispering stops. We slow, jostle, are almost still in the midst of our swirling reel. It fair takes your breath away, this. Here where the trees break and the sky grows immense. Miles and miles of star-studded sky and flat salt marches. Tall reeds and grasses on every side. There are great expanses of merse and the sharp salted mud beneath. But it is the sky, the huge and domed silent heavens and the land opening its jaws to the distant moonlight shimmer of sea. This. It's why we come here. We can't go far, but if we weave together, you can get some kind of momentum. It's a bit like a ghostly snowball, gathering ourselves, our wee wisps of self which remain sooking together and inching forwards. They think we're daft in the churchyard. Straying is most seriously frowned upon. But if you keep rooted in your 6x2, then you'll never get anywhere. Isn't that the truth? Aye. Yet maybe straying is why we're all still here. They never tell you. Moving seems to be one way of hoping. Going forwards, going back, it's all one. As long as we can flicker. Because flickering is another kind of push. When you flicker, you're not inert. Moving, flickering, trying to see, to feel beyond. Well, who knows what it might ignite? For shame, that isn't fair. Sorry, Janet. Yeah, sorry, Janet. Mind Black Margaret, for instance. Her that used to stay in Barbados Villa in the Toon. Ken, the one with the dark skin that had the provost for a daddy. Remember how effortless it was for her. Douce as anything she was. Big sad eyes and such a pretty face. strange, silent lassie, head down, aye keeping to herself. Then one day she starts singing, belting out some Caribbean ditty like she owned it. The whole glorious form of her glowing, wonderful and warm. Then that was her, away, just away. Part of us no more. You never know the minute, nor the hour, nor the century, or the second you are gone. Both the first time and the last, you never know. So it's no wonder there may be some loose ends to tidy, some edges yet to smooth, a day of reckoning perhaps, or realisation. We never know. But see, some folk, some of us left behinds, they have no dignity about them. Thon avengers are the worst. Take Janet Dalrymple, her, the bride of bloody Lammermuir, such a showy ghost. Doesn't he need to come here at all? The woman has her own castle to haunt out at Baldoon. But she floats here every so often for a rest. Oh, exhausted. She's a bundle of bright, jagged nerves. See the year those singers did Lucia de Lammermuir? Oh, insufferable she was. And then there's flaming Janet. Sorry, Janet. Oops, excuse me. After you, Janet. Sorry. We keep Janet on the outside of us, for the heat of the rage coming off her is intolerable, and she smells of bitter ash. They cried her witch, burned her in a barrel of tar, because she was old and knew her herbs. The only time Janet is calm is when she and Dr. Walker talk about botanicals and cures. We drift along the boardwalk, spilling, sparkling over the edges of the wooden slats. We are uncontainable, unreal. The moon beats down, tipping every shadow with white fire. We cast no shadow. We are only shade. At the end of the boardwalk, rising through the reeds, a long pole sits in mud, staking its claim to where they murdered the Twa Margarets. It's not the original stake, but a simulacrum in stone. It is exquisite torture to be here, for it is both beautiful and ugly. Some of us get riled at the stake, for the unfairness, yes. Of course, for the cruel and wicked punishment of two women who only loved their God. But there are other unfairnesses which pierce us too. Where is Janet's sculpted tar barrel to mark her burning? Where is the white plinth memorial for all the witches? Where is Dr. Walker's statue, her that won a gold medal, and the Jean Walker Prize? Or the proud column for Jessie Coupland, our only woman provost? Where might that have stood? An owl glides, soft, above us. We tremble at the sweep of our hunter's wings. Anyway, we have this place, and so this is what we have. There's someone there with the stake. So there is. Sitting hunched, legs dangling, head cloaked. It's hard for us to see. Our world is bleached, viewed vaguely through a veil. We have forgotten colour. Is it a holy man gone astray? Well, he's very welcome if he keeps his distance, because this place is ours. It's a good, sad spot, a maypole round which we may dance in our ghostly mist-oiled wheel. You can't see us, mind, but occasionally, perhaps, we're a shiver or a flitting blink of they're not there at the edge of your vision, or an imprint on the land. We are a sense of sadness on the air. The silhouette raises his arm, an arc flying, then a clatter as a rock strikes the martyr's stake. We bridle, we fizz, we are a raggle of raging bones, we are a maelstrom, we are ether, ethereal, terrible. The hooded figure straightens, looks behind to where we burrow. Mother Moon shines her brightest. It is a lassie. How could she? Don't get us angry. Have you met Peggy the poltergeist? Anger is an energy. Peggy could throw a man up off his bed, but the rage consumed her, for it was pure, not tempered with sorrow like Janet's. There was no wrong to right with Peggy. She was just wrong. Will you wheest, you crabbit besoms? She can't hear us. No one can ever hear us. Mistress McNierney is straining, as she always does, torn between here and her eternal trail to the tall chimneys over the hill. The old Wigtown prison, of which she and her mother before her was matron, dominates its skyline, just as it dominates her. Some nights we can travel further and faster than we ever mean. It's a random stop and start endeavour. If we bicker, we set up a right cloud of stew, but then we pull apart. Yeah, there are nights, lovely, kind nights, where we are as one, fair whirling past the shuttered windows and sleeping streets. Those are the nights we can be immense. Those are the nights we let Mistress McNierney peer in through the windows of the prison and call to be let inside. There are cells to be cleaned, prisoners to be fed, gates to be blacked, broken glass to be swept, belts to be removed, belts and scarves and hanging things, a noose to be cut, always that damned noose to be cut. And they never let her in, though she cries and cries to them to save the girl. It's a turnkey's job to be careful of hanging things. But Mistress McNierney was a house-proud woman, so devout her scrubbing that her charges could be left alone for hours. So now she shouts out her voiceless pleas to save a lass long gone. Another stone hits a stake. Is that no sacrilege? The figure pulls back her hood. She is young, on that boiling cusp of girl to woman. But there is none of that soft, curious joy about her that we remember when we were wee. Do we remember? Was it joy? It's easy to romanticise, says Dr. Walker. Aye, it is that. Mistress McNierney's voice is low. Before you know what you know. A pile of rocks rests by the girl's thigh. Her countenance is blotched and anguished. Moonlight shines on tear-washed skin. Even though we can't see clearly, it's plain the lassie is distraught. What will we do? Sister Agnes would know what to do. Oh, Sister Agnes is a wonder. Comes all the way from Whithorn. It seems she can fit wherever she pleases. We don't see her much. We think she visits many places. In life, she tended the pilgrims seeking solace at St. Ninian's shrine, bringing all their boils and disease. She once washed the feet of King Jamie. Even when she got ill herself, Agnes stayed to nurse those sicker than she. Then she stayed again after she died to try and rescue some licentious monk's soul. There were a lot of them about, apparently, licentious monks. Aye. Do you mind on orgy at Glenluce? Was there no a wizard involved? Can we focus on the job in hand, please? On the patient? She's no your patient, Dr. Walker. She's a wee scared lassie who's lost her way. Haven't we all? The owl has returned, is watching us from the highest of trees. Minerva's familiar. What a star, eh? As Sister Agnes, choosing limbo to save another's soul. Sister Agnes isn't showy. Rumour has it she's friends with St Medina herself. Ken, the wifey that keeps poking her own eyes out. Can we stop being coarse, please? Coarse and crass. Maybe the lassie's a criminal. Mistress McNearney is animated once more. Maybe she's on a run and hiding here. We could seize her now, march her to the jail. I have a lovely cell prepared, spotless so it is. You could take your dinner off the flare. Will you spare us from your awful pride, Mistress McNearney? Pride in taking dirt from a floor? Good God, you think that's the entire span of womankind's achievements? Dr. Walker is spinning fast. There is a risk we will split asunder. Stop your caterwauling both. Have mercy on our ears. Mercy! Oft, it's flaming Janet, screeching now. None of you ever showed me mercy. No one I gret and screamed. No yin of them stayed their horns, all eager to bid me burn. Hush now, Janet. Hush. Life is never fair. Not for the likes of us. Skelly Hilda takes Janet, passes through her, as we are all constantly a dance. The two shapes of them ducking and tucking until they're on the furthest reaches of us, out with the body of the kirk, so to speak. An English maid is Hilda, lovely lassie, from the court of Devorgala. We call her Skelly Hilda on account of her cross eyes, due to being throttled by one of Devorgala's men. Oh, you'll not know the story. Nobody does. No actual body does. Ken Sweetheart Abbey? Well, Manky Cow Abbey, more like. Skelly Hilda was a Balliol. She did not like the idea of her kinsman's heart being paraded like a relic. So she filled Devorgala's wee kist with the heart of a calf and asked another Balliol to take King John's own heart home. But you cannot trust the Balliol. And poor, betrayed, skelly, throttled Hilda. Her grief is quenching Janet's anger, the two of them hissing slightly like steam. Pride! Mistress McNearney is off, roaring and greeting. I'll give you pride. I think you're better than us all, Dr. Walker. Pride is a sin. Call yourself an educated woman. Poor Beatha recoils from the noise. She seems to float away from the rest of us, yet the gentle motion is enough to drag us with her, closer, closer to the lassie. How did Beatha manage that? Daft, silent Beatha with naught but a glaikit stare. Beatha is close enough to touch. Beatha can see her own face reflected in the young woman's eyes. Eye after eye after eye it goes, far inside to the root. Beatha tingles, afraid to look, for she knows what she will find there. The weeping girl rests herself now against the martyr's stake. It's a pose that should be relaxed, but it's not. There is a bag there, one of those sacks you can carry on your back, and she opens it. We surround her like nosy, fluttering ducks. There is the source of her stones. She carries a pile of rocks inside her bag. From an inner pouch, she removes a small bottle. Dr. Walker chills. We feel it, all of us, the cold, creeping shock of grief. Barbiturates. Oh, what can we do? What can we do? Are we not all educated women in our way? We know so many things, this great shifting sum and breadth of us. Yet what can we do? We know the magic of love. We know the loneliness of the grave. We know the thrift of making do, of making good. We know the ache of silence when a man says clever words he stole from you, and you stand there mute in your place. We know unfinished business. We know the thirst for revenge. We know the kindness of a stranger, the cruelty of the hearth. We know this lassie is hurting. We know the whole world bleeds. We know the trust of a smile. We know the gentleness of hands on a dying brow, of the laying out and the laying in. Oh aye, we ken the pain and power of childbirth. Some of us know the shame of it too. Beatha feels this knowledge in a rush. It is bright and clever as it cleaves her, setting her apart from the rest of them. It is hers alone to feel. She holds the girl's eyes in her own and shares her pain, for it is Beatha's pain too, and she lets it flow. All the words she has suppressed and never heard and always known, all the guilt she bears and has borne and will bear, for this is why she cannot leave. She knows that now. Its clarity awakes her, and she can see the colours, hear the sounds. Beatha sat here once when the sea flowed and the moon was up, when her man no longer wanted her, nor the baby in her belly, when she strung herself round with rocks and fell forwards and backwards and down. How can she make them understand? Beatha has the strength of all her mothers. Daft old ancient Beatha. What is she doing? We are all entirely discombobulated, like a banshee she is, flitting and surging, shepherding us into one almighty cauldron. We are streaking past ourselves, round and round, faster and faster, with a crying lassie in the centre of us. Her and the martyr's stake are the only points to cling to in our unravelling, bubbling world. She is crouched over the lassie, cradling her stomach like it's something lost, and suddenly we feel her ache. It shoots through us, tightening, expanding, and we are dragged all around and in and through her. Poor Beatha on her knees, holding fast to the lassie and staring into her eyes as we lift her up and hold her in our arms. Mother Moon is fading. The sun is coming fast, and all at once we see, just for a beat, we can see. We see the pinks and rose gold. We see the tentative blue, the shots of violet and the amber spears. For an instant, we can smell the merce, smell life, and oh, we are hungry and glad that we had it. Life. Hungry for this lassie to want it too. Then just as suddenly, our frenzy stops. As the sun washes warmth across the martyr's stake, we recede. Quiet now, more peaceable. Even Janet's stopped her crackling for the moment. The lassie is rubbing her eyes. We none of us breathe. Well, we can't. What have we done to her? She unfurls herself, still, stands up, holding on to the stake. We see her blink, as if she is seeing what we saw. We did, didn't we? Did we see those glorious colours? Slowly, the lassie lifts her bottle of pills. The sun is pushing up in the horizon, and we are growing dimmer. We must return to our kirkyard and our rest, but oh, what is she doing? Stop pushing me. But can you see? The lassie is replacing the bottle into a rucksack of rocks, and she is swinging out her skinny arm, is throwing it forwards. Forward goes the rucksack, forwards and back and down into the marshy mud where it sinks. And we find we are rushing backwards. But where is Beatha? Our daft ancient Beatha? Look, over there on the boardwalk. Briefly, as we retreat, we catch a glimpse of the whole glorious form of her, glowing wonderful and warm. Then that is Beatha. Away. Just away. Part of us no more. We coil and sift, shift and drift back to the churchyard, to the stillness of another day. Anger is an energy, but faith, so is love.